Well, welcome. My name is Nick Fortine. I'm the president and publisher of Columbus Business First, and I am here with Kurt Hoeft, CEO of EASYIT, a first-time Fast 50 Awards winner in 2020. So welcome, Kurt.
Thanks, Nick.
To get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Eric, and tell us about the origins of EASYIT.
Yeah, so myself and my brother Eric are the co-owners of EASYIT. We've been in business since 1998, so 20 plus years of brothers in business, and so far so good. We do primarily managed services, managed IT services, managed IT security, stuff like that. So we will either act as the IT department for a small to mid-sized company, or as a part of the IT department. More commonly anymore, we co-source. So there is internal professional IT folks on staff of the client, and then we enhance what they're able to do with our folks basically working on their infrastructure and security.
Okay, so 20 years. What was the origin of the business? How did you guys decide you wanted to start a consulting business?
We were both in IT. Eric was in project management, and I was in software development configuration. And he was out on his own and had hired an employee and was doing projects. And I actually was at a corporation in Marysville working at the time, and I just finished up a big project. And they wanted me to go on to their next monstrous project, which was multiple years. And anyhow, I opted not to go forward with that. So he came to me and said, "Oh, so you're unemployed now?" I said, "Well, I will be, because I'm going to resign." He says, "You do sales, I'll do operations, and let's build a company." And that's how we started.
And has it stayed that way? Are you still the salesperson, and he still runs the shop?
Yeah, so everything that's client facing, ultimately I own. So customer service issues, account management, virtual CIO services all come to me, and I also the sales departments I run. Anything that's back office, any operational stuff, go to Eric. It very much aligns with our personality types. We may look similar, other than height, but our personalities are very different. Eric will make lists, and he's very much an engineer, and as an engineer, he's gonna knock off every fine detail. I'm not the fine detail guy. I like to think broadly, and the world's more gray for me. It's not all black and white like it is for him. And so he runs things like this year we've been through our SOC, which is Service Organizational Control Audit. It's very detail oriented, very process oriented. That's all him. He does real well with that. And then I focus on how do we present ourselves from a marketing standpoint? How do we relate to our clients? How do we go out into the community?
Mm-hmm. And so 20 years working with your brother, I'm sure you've had your ups and downs, but how do you make that work? I mean, that's not the easiest thing to do, to be a co-owner and a co-worker with a sibling.
It's a fair question. We had a gentleman that worked with us for years, and he used to say, "I can tell when you're talking as business partners, and I can tell when you're talking as brothers." It's a very different dynamic. But mostly because we have our separate responsibilities, and he likes to do things that I'm not good at, and vice versa, it just kind of works itself out. And the nice thing about working with your sibling is there's no mystery. I know what Eric's going to do before he does, probably, and he knows what I'm going to do before I do. And based on that, there's a lot of trust, and that's huge in a partnership.
Great. So let's talk about this year. What impact have the events of 2020 had on your business this year?
It's been sizable. Not all negative, to be honest. We've gained a lot of business in 2020. I think the bar for your IT service organization is much higher when they have to suddenly support a remote workforce. And that caused a lot of Central Ohio companies to reevaluate how they're accomplishing their IT function. And therefore, we gained quite a few clients this year. And that's been wonderful. Our folks are stretched a little thin, I would say. even our older long-term clients, their ticket volume's 25% higher on the same book of business that it ever was before, just because of all the remote workers. And that's been tough. So we've then had to restructure our organization based on that ticket volume, based on the additional clients, so that we broke down our service organization into smaller focused service groups so that they could be more intimately familiar with a smaller set of customers. And we implemented that this year. It was on the plan, but certainly accelerated as just we got busier and busier trying to manage that volume. And then we've been adding workforce through this, which is also challenging when everyone's working remotely. It's easy to bring on a new guy who can sit next to your current employees and learn from them and build rapport and such. When that new employee comes in and you've just got a skeleton staff, it probably makes it a little harder for them to get up to speed as quickly. But we've worked our way through that. And then we've had to think more about how we solicit business. You know, the old ways of going out and networking and such aren't happening much at this point. So we've doubled down on our marketing. We've changed our sales strategy. We try to be very much more value add in what we do and more consistent. For instance, when all this began, we tried to consistently reach out and just tell all of our clients that have all the employees that are working at home, think about this, here's a tip or trick for you, just make their lives a little bit easier. And that's been good. And then in general, our industry has just changed this year. It used to be mostly about managing infrastructure and keeping people working. Much more the focus now is on cybersecurity. The instance of cyber attack is up something like 400 to 600% this year. And it shows.
Is that because so many people are working from home?
That probably contributes to it, but I think in chaos, bad people see opportunities, and they're taking advantage of those opportunities to try to earn money from our clients.
Okay.
And it's been a trend for a while where attacks are going up, but when COVID hit, it really seemed to have spiked.
Interesting.
So we've really had to think security first now when we enter an engagement with a client. You know, what are their people doing? Do they have the right processes? Are they well equipped with the correct technology? You have to have all those things for them to even be mildly defended. Mm-hmm. And then to have them understand that as a business, you have to defend every endpoint and every access point to your network and your data. As an attacker, you just have to compromise one. Once you start thinking in those terms, you're like, oh, I need to be very consistent in how I'm dealing with technology. And then consistency then is repeatable, can be improved, and you can get tighter and tighter security, so have less incidents.
Is that a paradigm shift for some of your newer clients where maybe they're calling you in to do a task and you're starting with, well, we got to start at security audit before we even get to what we're going to be doing for you?
It's now very much front and center. When we always do an initial audit, a baseline of any new client. Now the primary focus is how secure are you and how recoverable are you? It was always part of it. Mm-hmm. We start there now, and very purposefully so. And I think the expectation and the desire is from our clients, new clients, that they want us to start there. Usually they have uncertainty and they just want to tackle that uncertainty and reduce risk and really have their business, well, they want to sleep better at night probably. Mm-hmm.
What do you attribute after 21 years in business to making the Fast 50 for the first time? What's changed in your business that really accelerated your growth within the last few years?
That's a great question. I'm a little salty because we just never applied for it before. We could have certainly qualified at least the year prior to this, if not the year prior to that.
So that's one lesson to business owners: apply.
Well, the lesson is have enough bandwidth that you're looking for those opportunities to participate in things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we always had that bandwidth. Part of being an entrepreneur is you just have a lot of things on you. and then things that aren't necessary sometimes don't get done. So I now have just a better, bigger team. What really has changed in the last few years, I think, not just one thing, but a bunch of things. We have strong customer service focus and strong management in our customer service area. The teams really come together in a way that it just never had before over the last like 5 years. And that just feels wonderful to see, and I think it shows in how they perform. We've also been much more purposeful in how we go to market for sales and for leads, which has allowed us to grow our book of business. We've added smart point solutions for our clients, so we now have a slightly broader offering that we can go to market with. So I think it was just really having enough piece parts together that we can scale. It's not like we make widgets. Scaling a service business, I've always felt, is really hard. And you can only go at a certain pace or risk the wheels falling off. And I think now we just have enough. As you get larger, it actually gets a little easier to grow faster. Conversely, as you grow faster, as a percentage, you're growing slower.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you touched on this, but how has your role changed? You know, obviously you and your brother are entrepreneurs. The first several years, it's basically diving at loose balls, doing whatever you need to do to get things done. But when you get to the kind of scale that you're talking about now, how has your role changed in the organization? What did you stop doing? What are maybe things that you're now doing that you didn't before?
So it's about letting go of responsibility. We have a wonderful staff of engineers that really are the first line of technical success. We actually call them technical success managers for our clients. So they are really doing most of the legwork, most of the forward thinking for our clients. Those sort of things I don't get dragged into anymore. I'm just I feel myself, I'm more of a quality control person at this point. They'll come to me when they're like, how do I handle this, or is this a better way than that? And I can just input at those times. I spend a lot of my time now working on the business, if you will. For instance, we're in a national peer group and we meet quarterly, and a lot of my time is spent working with those peers, same business, different geographies, to figure out what is the best method for accomplishing this or for dealing with that, and then how can I bring that, how can I put that into a system and process so that all my clients can then reap the benefit of it. So it's nice to have the bandwidth to do those things because you've got a good staff handling everything else.
Mm-hmm. What, as you reflect back on this year, lessons learned, something you may have done different, something you may have wished you figured out earlier than you did?
Lessons learned. The importance of teaming, how do I say this? The importance of our team and the culture of our team, I probably underestimated in the past. We've been able to do some great stuff, but it's not me, it's not Eric, it's the group, it's the greater team, if you will. And they care for each other, and you can tell that now that we're working remotely, they do miss each other, so the culture is good. And I think you can take for granted that sort of thing, and you can take for granted your closer personal relationships with your coworkers until you don't physically have them anymore. And that really stuck out for me. We wouldn't be on the Fast 50 if it weren't for the efforts of this great group of people.
Mm-hmm. And as you think back on the 20 years even, the whole journey, what advice would you have for someone who was, where you were when you were starting out, an entrepreneur that really feels like they've got something, has their legs under them and starting to grow? What's your advice to them?
I think I would have two pieces of advice. Be real purposeful in the key people you hire. They'll make or break your company. And then as you're small, you tend to do everything with muscle and feel and grunt your way through it. But if you take the time to document how you do things, to turn it into a repeatable, improvable process, you'll be able to scale instead of being mired into being dragged into all the things across your organization, which stunts this usual small entrepreneur for quite a while until they figure out how to do that very thing.
Mm-hmm. And in kind of thinking about the Columbus business community, what's it been like building a business in Central Ohio and in the greater Columbus community?
I can't think of a better place. Columbus is so welcoming. No one asks what high school did you go to. People are very Midwestern. They're generally kind. They're helpful. Business here and business owners like to help each other. I think it's one of the big struggles we're having during this pandemic, where you used to physically see people at events and have those key conversations like, oh, I know a guy that can solve that for you, and those sort of things. They just aren't happening now. They're hard to come by. And that I think that's a problem that Central Ohio is going to have to overcome. We need to get back to that, because I think we're a better community when we're together.
Mm-hmm. Anything that's changed in your business that will remain a permanent change as a result of what we've gone through this year?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever have 100% of people 100% in the office anymore. Our folks seem to enjoy, to some degree, working at home. I don't know that many of them want to do it full time all the time, but I think they like the flexibility of being able to at least do it part time. And we've been pleased with the productivity of our remote workforce. So we're not going to force anyone to, you have to sit in this desk in this office to do your job. So I don't ever see us going back to that, and I think we're all the better for it.
Great. Any closing thoughts?
I feel lucky and blessed to be included in the Fast 50. I've always wanted to. I always admire the companies that are on there. And so thanks so much for sponsoring this, Nick.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again. Kurt Hoeft, CEO of EASYIT, and we'll see you at next year's Fast 50 as well.
Great. Thanks, Nick.
Take care.